Welcome to another episode of TFL's Hot or Not, where Paul, our expert race car driver, and myself decide whether a car is hot or not. And Paul, today we have a car I've been really eager to get into. What is it?
It's the BMW 340i, and yeah, it's kind of a cool car. You know, new generation of these vehicles, so it could be fun to see how it does it on the track.
You know, it's a car that is the benchmark in the class.
Without a doubt.
For many sedans, because it brings a lot to the table. The BMW, of course, has this incredible bandwidth, right? So it's a car that can be a luxury car. It's a car that can be a family hauler. It's a car that can be a sports car.
Yeah, and they've you know, when you say benchmark, I think this car invented that, you know, that term, didn't it? Because it's been the benchmark for so long now, and it's gone through these, you know, dips and valleys and peaks where it's been a great car and maybe a little too soft a car for enthusiasts, and back and forth. So it's kind of fun to see where this one lands today.
So as always, I've spent a week behind the wheel driving it on the road, and Paul has taken it around the track. And that's a good point, Paul, because the last generation, the knock on it was that it's become too civilized, right? The steering has gone numb, the suspension is kind of mushy. So the question is, how's this 340i doing? And I think to begin that, let's just go to the track and have you do a 0 to 60 time.
Okay.
This is the fastest 3 Series BMW you can buy without an M badge. Now, once upon a time, a 340 would have meant that it had a 4-liter. Not today. Oh no, it's got a 3-liter that puts out 320 horsepower and 330 pound-foot of torque. Now, this is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and of course it has paddle shifters, which Paul will love. It also has BMW's twin power turbo. What does that mean? It just means it's a single turbo that's a twin scroll turbo. And it scrolls up very fast indeed.
All right, here we go. 0 to 60 run in the 340i. And it's all-wheel drive, which is a good thing. So we'll see how that helps out in the launch. Should be pretty good, actually. Should help out quite a bit. Full throttle off. Nice launch in the boost already. Pretty clever for it to do that. All right, there we go. That's a fast 0 to 60, 4.8 seconds, and zero drama, and very, very quick boost. I can tell you, looking at this engine, this new engine basically, or revised engine that's in this car, that's pretty impressive boost response that it has. Definitely better than the previous generations with this engine. Of course, now we're at 320 horsepower.
Wow, that was fast. Under 5 seconds at a mile above sea level. Very fast.
Yeah, it was very impressive. I've driven, you know, the other generations of cars. I think everybody has, right? and this iteration of this twin scroll inline 6-cylinder 3-liter engine has really, really good boost response. And I know we sound like a broken record. We're always talking about you know, at altitude and how the car doesn't work, but it really works well here. And so you're just kind of sitting there against the brake and let it launch. It just launched right away in the boost, and away it went. So it's very crisp shifts from the 8-speed automatic transmission in a really quick time.
Yeah, I was watching you do that run, and it like a scalded cat, man. It was a boom.
Yeah.
There was no turbo lag. You know, it just hunkered down and took off.
I'll admit it surprised me.
Yeah, I'm still, you know, deciding whether it's hot or not. That's why we have this here as always.
Not yet. Put them down.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait till the end of the episode for you to know whether it's hot or not. Now, I spent a week behind the wheel, and you know, I get to drive a lot of different cars. So I've driven the A4, I've driven the C-Class, and I got to tell you, I think that both those cars, at least from kind of an interior point of view, are another level above this BMW. It's looking a little stark, it's looking a little cold, it's looking a little too generic in some ways.
I think it seems like some of the other brands maybe went off on a bit more of a styling direction with their interiors, and BMW sort of stayed their very sort of stoic course that they've maintained for a very long time. It's very functional, you know, but it's maybe not as elegant or as pretty.
All right, so let's get all the whinging and whining out of the way first before we get to the good stuff. BMW builds a lot of great and beautiful steering wheels, but this is not one of them. It looks like an uncooked bag of microwave popcorn that's about ready to pop. I don't know what it is, but to me a steering wheel is important because it's what I look at all the time, and this one is just, well, it's just kind of bulbous and round. think the German engineers were out of the office when this one was designed. There's also iDrive. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 functions just in this little pod alone. Way too many sub-menus up here. Way too complicated. BMW keeps improving it, but being German engineers, they keep making it more and more capable and more complex. In other words, less intuitive. So I'm sure if you own this car, you get to know it, but I still have not fallen in love with it. I think there are much better systems out there. All right, so that's the bad. Now, what about the good? First and foremost, it's the size of this car. It's really a perfect size for a car that can be used as a canyon carver, a car that can be used as a family hauler, a car that can be used as a commuter. You can use this for your entire family with xDrive. You can use it in the snow. You can use it to have a lot of fun with on the weekends. And if you work at, say, a law firm and you need a little bit of prestige in your life, this will certainly bring that to the table. I was just on the launch of the C-Class Coupe, right, which obviously competes with a BMW 4 Series, but nevertheless it's the same platform. And I was amazed at the interior. You look at like the speaker grille cover, all the details, all the fine work in there. There's a sense of occasion, I think, that's missing in the 3 Series. I think BMW needs to up their game to start competing at least at that level.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I think like all the premium brands have kind of done that with the really, like you said, the fancy speaker covers and things they're doing with the car. So it is something, I think, where they're almost a generation behind from that perspective.
Now, even though the interior may not be, at the head of its class, the dynamic performance of the car, I think certainly is. So let's go to the track and see how it did on our leaderboard. Two 25/45 R18s, Pirelli P7s. Now, normally these all-season tires would be great for the road, but since this is, of course, an xDrive all-wheel drive BMW, these are going to be a little, well, let's say slippery when Paul hustles it around the track.
Really good launch in the boost. I do love that about this car. Oh, turns in nice on the brakes. That I did not expect. I expected to get a bunch of understeer, and I got actually a really nice trail brake rotation there. Big lurch across the bump. You can tell it doesn't have the suspension composure that we'd see out of the M2, but really solid so far around the lap. I'm kind of liking this car. Look at that. It's kind of frisky. Remember, this is an xDrive car, and it's turning in really nicely on the brakes. BMW used to have this thing called corner brake control. It used to drive me crazy. It made all the brake bias shift to the front whenever you put steering in the car, and it made huge amounts of understeer. And here I am in this all-wheel drive four-door 340i, and it's really handling nicely around here. I'm having fun with this car.
So the BMW M2, right? That went 103.69. You think you went faster or slower?
I want to say it was pretty close, but I think it was slower.
It was.
Yeah, and I have to say, for an xDrive all-wheel drive car, really good balance.
Yeah, it was a lot slower.
Yeah, okay, there we go, yeah.
So, I think it is the fact that less power, more weight.
Tire,
less
definitely
tire.
An issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have an M-car suspension system, and that in itself is probably worth a couple plus seconds a lap.
Yeah.
Not to mention the power. The time wasn't great, but I have to say my time behind the wheel was pretty great. I liked the handling of the car. I thought it was really fun to drive. I was kind of prepared to be maybe a little disappointed thinking of the previous generation, but I think this car kind of got its mojo back.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with this hot or not question. I'll tell you why. Because, in Europe you get a 3 Series, right? And you can order it with pretty much just a basic car. It's like a mid-size sedan here, right? Here, a 3 Series always a luxury sedan. And so, this car is almost $60,000.
Yeah.
And I get behind the wheel and I just sit and I look around and there's no sense of occasion. There's no sense of, it's just kind of stark and cold. And then you start driving it and it's really good. So I'm really torn between, is it hot or not? This is a very driver-centric car. Everything I need to see is right in front of me. Fuel, speed, RPMs, and of course engine temperature. Sure, a Porsche will give you more information, but this gives you the critical stuff first and it's right at hand. The other great thing about this is the seating position. I feel like I'm in control of the car. I don't feel like there's a position that I can't get comfortable in. And it just feels like it's on its tippy toes. It wants to dance. It wants me to do this. Look at that. Oh, it just goes. It just goes like stink.
Well, that's a tricky one.
Has it become too many things to too many people?
Well, I'd say to me, like the previous gen had, and it felt too soft, and it wasn't to me like a BMW should feel. This one has that feel to it, where you're like, this is a fun driver's car. The problem is the price. When you think of that M2 we just tested, is basically stickering at less than this thing. And dynamically, it's so amazing. It's not a four-door and it's not all-wheel drive. But man, was that a good car.
Yeah. So, Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot. The BMW 340, is it hot or not?
I'm going to say if you're a family person that needs an all-wheel drive car, it's a pretty great choice. And to me, that would make it hot. When you put it against the money of an M2, it's not.
But you can't do that. It's got to be one or the other.
It's got to be one or the other. I'm going to say for the money, it's not.
All right. And I'm going to surprise you because I'm going to say it is hot.
Look at you. You tricked me. Can we do that again?
No, I didn't trick you. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I was on the fence, right? But you get behind the wheel and you start to feel kind of the dynamics of the thing, just how well it is screwed together in terms of its ability to kind of convey road feel, provide you with this effortless sense of speed, and just, at the end of the day for me, it's all about putting a smile on my face. So initially when I get in it, I'm not that happy, but once I start driving it, it's hot.
Yeah, cool. I would agree.
All right, guys, thank you for watching. As always, this is Roman and
this is Paul
saying we've got a lot more really cool cars coming down the pike. So come back for another episode of TFL's Leaderboard, Hot or Not, when I spend a week behind the wheel and Paul takes it and hot laps it around the track. Thanks for watching. The rub on this was a couple things, right? From the A-pillar forward, it's very identical to a Boxster of the same generation. And so people don't like those fried egg headlights. They don't like the fact that if you're looking at it from the rearview mirror, you think it might be a Boxster when in fact you're at the top dog Porsche of the time. All right, guys, full disclosure, TFL car owns a 996. It's part of our Project Porsche series of videos, and so I may be a little bit of a fanboy when it comes to this generation of 911.